Hey, today I want to talk to you a little about something called ETFs, exchange traded funds. They have been the hottest thing in investing for a long time, certainly over 10 years, I would imagine. And there are definitely some very good things about ETFs, but I want to tell you why I don't own any ETFs. Now, let me give you the benefits first. ETFs, exchange traded funds, are something somewhat similar to a mutual fund, but there are definitely some big differences. Some good things about ETFs. Number one, you can trade them throughout the day if you want to. Of course, I'm a long-term investor, so I'm not worried about trading them throughout the day. Whereas a mutual fund, you can only trade it at 4 o'clock. So if you want to sell a mutual fund at the end of trading at 4 o'clock, that's when that exchange takes place. Whether you execute it at 9 a.m. or 1 p.m., it doesn't take place till the end of the day. But for long-term investors, I don't think that's a big deal. Also, exchange traded funds can be a little more tax advantageous because you don't have capital gains distributions like you do with mutual funds. With ETFs, it acts more like a stock from a tax perspective in the sense of you decide when to pay the taxes, meaning you pay the taxes mainly when you sell the investment, as opposed to a mutual fund, it works a little differently. But and they're very popular right now and they're perceived to be very low cost. And I think generally they are low cost. But why don't I own any ETFs? Because in the investment world, ETFs are still relatively young. Mutual funds have been around for a long time, I believe over 50 years, and they're proven. And ETFs have been around for a lot less time than that. And the one issue for me is the issue of ownership and what an ETF does versus a mutual fund. A mutual fund company buys a set of stocks, let's say the S&P 500 or whatever stock it is, and then I own, as a mutual fund holder of my investments, I hold a piece of that. Now, ETFs work differently, and I really haven't found a lawyer who has been able to convince me in a way that I can understand, okay, that how ETF ownership works. You hear the ETF companies talk a lot about that it tracks funds or it tracks certain investments. Now, the word tracks to me is a lot different than ownership. And so I don't love ETFs. Hey, if anybody hears this and they want to sell me on the idea of ETFs and how we are protected from an ownership perspective, I'd love to hear that. But for our clients, I tend to, maybe move them away from ETFs if they ask me. I'm just not a big fan because of the one issue of the legal ownership and how that actually works versus tracking a fund. When I hear somebody talking about tracking a fund, it more sounds like a betting situation. And I obviously don't like anything like that. Hey, I hope this has helped before. If you want to talk more about ETFs or mutual funds, feel free to give me a holler. Have a great day.